Wrote this song while crewing Aaron on a 100-mile foot race through the trails in the rain and mud. How about that? Miles to go. 100 miles to go. Don't ask me why I do it, I don't know. Miles by foot. 100 miles by foot. Don't ask me why I do it, I can't stay put. Rain is a-comin', can't give a fit. Rain is a-comin', can't give a fit. Don't ask me why I do it, but I am legit.
Welcome to episode 55 of the MR Runningpains podcast. Just me again. I just want to really take a moment and time in this episode to thank you all. Not only for listening to that last episode, but for sending me messages and notes. I think I definitely poured a lot of emotion out in that episode, and hopefully kind of bared a little bit of my soul to you guys and shared what is our passion. And with that, it made me kind of think about running and what we as runners think of ourselves. And I heard a question on another podcast that a person asked, if I don't race, but I do run longer than a marathon, am I considered an ultra runner? So, I wanted to kind of just expound on that for a moment, because for some reason, we always have to classify ourselves. We always need that title. Who are we? What are we? What do we do? Whether it be in our professional lives, in our hobbies, in running. There's a billion types of different runners, and when it all streams down to it, we're just runners. I think one of my best friends said it best when he said, "I'm not a runner right now. I don't run and train and race, but I'll always be a runner." I know I can put my shoes on and go out for a run at any time. And, that, by anybody's definitions, should be yes, you are a runner. Any of us can be runners. Some people don't think of themselves even as that. They feel that no, they're just doing it to lose weight. They're training for something else in which running happens to help them meet the goal. But in that regard, we're all the same. We're all runners. We all put one foot in front of the other, no matter how fast, no matter how slow, walk, run, sprint, climb, hike, whatever, like in that regard, we are runners. And, I think going back to what that person asked, if you want to term yourself as an ultra runner, if you have taken that one step beyond 26.2 miles, by definition, yes, you are an ultra runner. You are a part of the tribe of people that have gone that distance, that have gone beyond. And whether it's in a race or not, that's nobody can take that away from you. I hope you can understand that that is something that you did and nobody can take away. That should be something that you're proud of. Most people don't try these distances, and we see all of these growing distances and 200 milers and 250 milers. It's what's going to be next. What's that next distance going to be? Who's going to push the envelope further? I mean, obviously there's even further than that. But the reality is you are what you think you are. If you think you are an ultra runner, then you are. If you think you are a road runner, by all means, you're a road runner. If you think you're just a runner, that's fine. Just be happy with who you are, with what you can do, with the gift that you've been given to put one foot in front of the other, no matter how fast or no matter how slow. That's amazing. I've talked about this in the past, is we need to stop classifying each other by every single label that we can put on somebody. We're all one. We're all the same. I know it's hard. That's coming from, a white middle-class male. It's who am I to speak? But I'm just like everybody else. I'm just here trying to help this world be a better place. And I think we can do that if we all just learn to be appreciative of one another and respect and admire what each other can accomplish and offer. It's amazing to see what people do. Running is just a piece of us. They say it shouldn't define us, but I mean, it's hard to be a runner and not let it define you. It seems to be encompassing. We look at a piece of a life and how is this going to affect my running? How can I better myself? So, yeah, it really is. I mean, it really is a part of us. It can define us if we let it. Running has been a huge portion of my life, and obviously, last episode when I talked about my kids, it's becoming part of theirs. And to have my son, go to bed and say, Dad, how far are you going tomorrow? And when I say to him, I'm going 50 miles, and he just kind of looks at me and says, "Okay, I'll see you when you're done." That cracks me up. It doesn't faze him. That's what his dad does. He understands that's what I am and what I do. That's pretty cool, and to be able to go out and run with him now, to be able to run with my daughter, as I expressed last week, to kind of pass this along to coach kids. I've got all these kids that I'm trying to help. Like, I coach middle school track, and I coach some high schoolers that want to get faster. It's such a really cool thing to pass this along to give this to the next generation and say, look, this is a lifelong pursuit. You can do this. You can do this in high school. You can do it beyond in college. You can do it beyond college, and keep going to show them that, and show that, here's what life can offer you, and this path that you should choose, or you can choose. and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say should. It's always their choice. And, if I can touch on kids running for just a second here, I think, when they're young, it's just getting them out to enjoy running. Make it a game, make it fun, show them trails, like play tag, all these little things. It doesn't have to necessarily be just going out for a run. They see what you do, and they may not be ready for that. So, make it games, play with them, run with them, do fun things outside, even around the house, chase each other around. That's totally fine. It's not about just going for a run. And that's what we have to remember too as adults. Remember that joy, when you were young and you played tag with your classmates in school. You're out in the field running around, just being free. Those are the moments that we have to remember as adults, and remember that running should be fun, and that the joy that running spreads. That's amazing. I hope running brings you that joy. It may be challenging, it may be hard, but I think we're all in the pursuit of a better us. And, whether that comes just by stress relief and making us feel better and, act a little bit better towards our fellow humans, I think that you should just take a step back and say, what does running mean to me? What does it do for me? And make sure that it's bringing positive into your life. It's making you a better person. Don't let it add stress to your life. That's not the point of running. Running should be a joy again, and it should have the bright spot of your day. One of the bright spots of your day. I'm sure that you have others, and I hope you do. But if you don't, and running is that singularity that you're like, yes, this is going to be the awesome part of my day. Appreciate that. Reflect on that, and write down what does that mean? What were your thoughts during that day? What world problems did you solve on that run? It can be so much more. I always talk about people's why. Why do we run? And when I kind of think back to it and really kind of single things out, I think I'm always in pursuit of the perfect run, which, it's really hard, right? That's nigh impossible to say, oh, that was the perfect run. But I've had them, of these 30 plus years that I've been running, I've had the perfect runs. I've had it where everything was dialed in. I was in the flow every moment. It went, seamlessly. My nutrition was on point. I couldn't have been happier with the run and the result. They're few and far between, but when you have those, it's just an amazing day. When things just click and you're happy and you're content, and those are, again, the days that you have to remember that you're like, they can happen. And it's hard to find that way back to that. How do you recreate that? Is it possible? Can you actually do that more often, more frequently? Can you get into that mindset and just, let things be, as easy and free flowing as those runs? So, and they can happen anywhere. I've had, perfect runs on a treadmill where, you can say, Aaron, how the heck could you have a perfect run on a treadmill? But just the way I felt, I could have gone on forever, I could have ran all day. That's the feeling that I'm talking about. You just don't want to stop. You don't want to get off the treadmill just because you're just having that day. You don't want to lose that moment, that feeling. And that's what I live for running, is that feeling, that, connecting with that again, whether it be you term it as the runner's high or, finding flow state, whatever, that's what really keeps me running. Like, can I perform that? Can I do that? It's hard to do it on race day. I've had even fewer race days, obviously, where that, it's just been, everything clicked. I think the first time I had it was in a 2 mile in track. And, I was at the state meet, back in high school, and, we were running in Buffalo, and, I think I was a junior. I might have been a junior in high school. And anyway, my seed time, the time that I raced to get in, didn't get me into the fast heat. I was in what they called the unseeded heat. And so I had myself and another young man from Long Island. We were racing in New York for state meet. And as I said, it was up in Buffalo. And we started just clicking off laps, and I never locked into that pace for that long. And I was just like, I feel good. I'm just going to keep rolling. And the seeded heat came after me. And I remember talking to my friends afterwards because they were in the seeded heat, the fast heat. And, I came around and I clicked off a 9:20. That's 70 seconds per lap, 440 pace per mile. And so, my friend said to me afterwards, he said, I think we all peed our pants a little bit when we saw you ran 9:20 because that was a stout time at the time to run, especially by myself. The other guy, stayed with me for as long as he could, but, running by myself and running 9:20, everybody was like, oh man, can we beat that? So I put something down, I threw something down, and I was really, really proud of it for that moment. And then, I watched the seeded heat, and I think I ended up taking third overall, coming out of the unseeded heat. And I was thrilled, as a junior. It was a great result. And I found that moment. And then the following year in indoor, I was racing, again, the 2 mile, but it was at nationals. It was indoor nationals up in Syracuse. And, it was a great field, really great field. It was a flat 200-meter track, in the Carrier Dome, which was, just a magnificent facility. I had gone to church the day before, and I sat in my pew, and I just kind of shut my mind off and just went blank for a while. I remember sitting there and just letting myself relax and feel the moment, and just all of a sudden I just started to pray, and my prayer to God was, I don't need this, Lord. I know I don't need this. This is for my own, my own pride, my own vanity, my own success. So I know I don't need this. I'm not asking you to grant me a good race. I'm just asking to give me the opportunity to let me race and let me have fun. And that's all I asked. Let me have the opportunity and let me have fun. And so I lined up the next day, and I was, 6th seed. So 6th fastest runner coming into the race. And I'm talking, we had, some top talent, some of the nation's top talent. It's nationals. Not everybody makes it, obviously, so not all the best runners were there, but we had an outstanding field. And we were given uniforms to race in. So I wore the New York jersey. It was navy blue and white. And I lined up and looked down the line. Saw my competitors. Here we are, all little thin whippets, high school whippets. And I towed the line, and my mind went clear, just like it had in church. And I knew this was going to be a moment. I just felt something special inside me. I just had that, that intuition that something special was about to happen. And gun went off. My best friend was in the race, and he took off in front of me, and I found myself mid-pack, just kind of clicking along. It was 16 laps for a 2 mile, and here we are, lap after lap. Not much is changing. The favorites were right up front where they should be, and the field kind of settled in right as the race progressed, and we got through the mile, and everything was good. I felt good. We were under 440 pace for the mile, and I just kind of started inching my way forward. And I was coming around. I think I had 600 meters to go, and that's so 3 laps to go. And I looked up, saw the leader up ahead, and I saw we were kind of strung out. And I'm usually, in track, I was usually, 400 meters, I just let loose. That was where I kicked. But that day, I knew I had to move. something told me that I had to move. I mean, that was my instinct. I hadn't been really thinking. I had just been reacting that race. I just kind of stayed in the moment and reacted. And my reaction at that moment was go. And so I did. I started moving up. I got into fourth. And I was just like, okay, you're in fourth place now. Let's keep moving. So 2 laps to go. I started moving even faster and moved myself up into third. And I looked ahead, and there's second and first place right up ahead of me. And so got around with 1 lap to go. The bell went off. They're just ahead of me, and I just gave it everything I had, and it started reeling them in. I passed second place, so now moving into second. First is just ahead of me, and I'm coming out as fast as I can, as hard as I can, trying to close the distance, close the gap. He had about 20 meters on me. I closed it down to 10 meters, and then, within 10 meters, maybe 5 meters, he crosses the line first. And I crossed the line second place at Nationals. So I gained All-American. And like I said, I was so thrilled with the result. I wasn't upset that I took second. I was really appreciative for the finish. I had so much fun. It was a fun race to get in the mix, to be competitive like that. To look around and see my fellow competitors and who we had raced. And the first place guy turns around and he says, "You ran out of room, huh, Saft?" And I'll never forget that. John Mortimer turning around and saying that to me after he had just won. I was right. I was right. I ran out of room, and I don't look back and say I should have started my kick earlier. I started it when my body told me, when I reacted to the moment. I felt I made the right moves and I put myself in position for the best success I could have had. So second place that's what I should have finished. Not first, not third, second place. And that's okay by me. I crack up when I hear the British announcers in track and field. First place comes across and then comes the first loser. Second place, they call the first loser. That cracks me up. But, it's experiences like that you realize where your place is in the universe. And when you do something and you get a result, you have to be okay with that, the good and the bad. The next year, in my senior year in high school, that was, indoors was my senior year, and outdoor that year, I had heat stroke. I passed out at our state qualifying meet. And missed qualifying for the 2 mile, the event that I had taken All-American and indoor. I would not run at my state meet because I passed out due to heat stroke. And that's what life was. That's what it dealt me. And I had to be okay with that. And I was. I was okay. I already had my ticket punched to NC State University. I was going to run for NC State. And, that's what, life is. It's successes, it's failures, and it's learning to deal with those. Not everything can be a positive result, and that's we have to take that and learn from it. What happened that made that result. I really that day, obviously I thought I had hydrated well enough. It was just hot, and we were in an open track, hottest part of the day, racing the 2 mile. It just it wasn't my day. I was feeling good. I thought I was in position to qualify, and yep, I passed out. Next thing I remember, I hear my mom screaming at me, "Get up!" And I staggered up and saw the guys pass by me, the positions that would go to state meet, and I wobbled and crashed to the track again. And, I just kind of crawled and swayed my way across the finish line, and then I passed out again. So passed out a second time. Next thing I woke up in a cold shower. I don't know how I got there, but that's what it was. I still have my high school jersey that has the red from the track where I collapsed. It's still in my closet. It's a memory, I had many good memories in that jersey. Yeah, sure, I remember that one. That was a tough one to swallow. Absolutely. The next day in the local paper, it had a picture of me sprawled out on the track with my competitors finishing up ahead of me. That was definitely a tough pill to swallow, but that's what gives us strength. If we can learn and build and get stronger from these type of failures, and that wasn't a failure. It really wasn't. I gave it everything I had. I did everything I could on that day to get across the line, and for whatever reason, my body said, today's not your day. That's okay, and that's what we have to remember on those given days where we line up for a race. And, we try to, do our best in the race, but for some reason our body is just rebelling against us. That happens, I mean, here I am, I talked about in my last episode, the 50 miler that I just did, and I PR'd, and by all means, by all rights, I should have just focused on recovery. Here I have Umstead coming up here, in less than 3 weeks, March 27th, I guess a little bit more than 3 weeks, but, anyhow, I decided that, my buddy and I were going to run the Black Mountain Marathon. I had signed up for the virtual event, and I needed to get it in, by, February, I think 27th or 28th, a week after the 50 miler. I was feeling good. My legs were feeling good. I was clicking along. I mean, I had some really good runs that week. Everything felt fine, actually, but I should have been smarter. I know better. But, and we get these ideas in our head that, I'm going to be fine. What's going out and having an easy run. I mean, the Black Mountain Marathon's about, I don't know, 3,000, just over 3,000 feet of climb. You ascend up the Toll Road Trail, which it's pretty rocky. If anybody that knows the Toll Road Trail here in, in Western North Carolina, that's a hilly trail. It's hard. You just do the footing, and it was wet, but it was fine. I mean, we were climbing. I felt good. I was with my buddy Dave Workman. Everything was going good. I was knocking down my nutrition. Legs felt fine. I was climbing strong. Nothing, no red flags, nothing. I was good. And then we turned around to come back down, and that's where things started to kind of, throw up some red flags. And I don't know if it was the undulation, just because of the rocks like kind of turning my ankles over, or if we were just coming down too fast. Perhaps I was overstriding, on the downhill. But all of a sudden, my IT bands started to really light up and go on fire, and I was like, going from such a good day to I gotta walk. That's a hard pill to swallow, because everything was going so well, and then it wasn't. And as I said, a week after the 50 miler, obviously stupid. That was dumb. By all right, I should have suffered. Doing something as dumb as that, yes, you should have suffered, Aaron. That was dumb. But they come. That's what my point is, not every experience can be a positive experience. And, what I took away from that was, dude, you just ran a 50 mile and you just completed the Black Mountain Marathon a week later. And, I completed it. I finished it. I got across the line. Legs were definitely tired, but then it signaled me, hey, recover this time, spend the time recovering. So Monday, took a day off. Today's Tuesday that I'm recording this. I went out for an easy jog with my dog. I did about 5 miles just on my dirt road here, out and back a few times. Nice and flat, nice and easy, consistent. I've been, wearing my heart rate strap, but for some reason it's not linking up. So, need to figure that one out, because it's new. But anyhow, the point is that we have good, we have bad. We look for those days where everything is going to click, and that's where training comes in. The training is the journey, right? We have to enjoy our training. That's the bulk of running is our training. Putting in the miles, putting in the workouts, right? And practicing your nutrition, practice using your gear, so that nothing is a surprise on race day. On race day, you know exactly what you're going to do. You know exactly how you're going to execute. And if things don't go right, you know exactly what you're going to do to, make it better. So how are you going to problem solve? What are your backup plans? All of that stuff should be implemented ahead of your race day. So, with Umstead coming up, I know my pacing. That's what I practiced in the 50 miler. Here's my pacing. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to execute. Here's my food plan. Here's my B plan for my food. Here's my C plan for my food. Here's my fluids. Like, I used Gatorade in that 50 miler, and I was like, nope, no, not right. My stomach was fine. Actually, my stomach was fine. I just didn't I didn't get enough calories out of the Gatorade. I typically use Tailwind to supplement some calories, and I've switched back since. And I think it's going to be smarter to use Tailwind and kind of work on those calories. I've been using the Momentum Pack on other runs. I use the Synaptic Waist Belt by Ultraspire for the 50 miler, and had one bottle. I'm kind of thinking here. I ordered the new version of the Momentum because I have the one, and the bottles are hard to get in and out. So I've got the two coming. And I think I'm going to use the new Momentum so that I have two bottles with me, so that I know I have plenty of Tailwind. I can also have some packets and mix it at the aid station if need me, and especially if it gets warm. I'm already modifying the Atreyu shoes. They do feel good. Did a review in my newsletter that just came out. My March newsletter just came out. If you're not subscribed, you can go on the website and subscribe. I also keep them all in the archive on the website, so you can go to the archive and see all my old newsletters. But in this issue, I kind of talk about the Atreyus. Man, they feel great. Training. I was like, they're just not quite right for what I'm looking for Umstead. So. I kind of tweaked it, grabbed a pair of Topos. I grabbed two because I tried the Cyclone, and the Cyclone the foam just is not quite right. They say it's a road to trail shoe, so I was it doesn't feel bad on the dirt, but it just doesn't feel like it moves just like I want it to. It doesn't feel like it moves with my foot. It almost feels a bit inhibiting. So I got the ST3, which is more on the minimal side, which, for anybody that knows me, I like the more minimal feel. And I also got the Flylight 3, which is just a little bit more than the ST, but still, pretty minimal. And I ran in the the Flylight today, and the Flylight, it felt good. It really did, but I'm going to play with the ST a little bit too. Umstead, it's kind of, gravelly, cindery. It's not like large stone, so you can get away with a road shoe. I just want to make sure I have enough underfoot that, I feel comfortable. And it may be that I start in the ST and switch over to the Flylights if I just feel like I need a little bit more underfoot. But I'm just digging the toe box a little bit more. The Atreyu was just a little too tapered, and it wasn't that it hurt any of my toes or that it blistered any of my toes. It just felt like I wasn't able to splay my foot, so it didn't feel like I was getting the full function of my foot. So I'm really in tune with my foot since I had plantar fasciitis for so long and got over it, and kind of made the transition to a little bit more minimal footwear so that I keep my foot stronger and I don't suffer from plantar fasciitis again. So anyway, all that to say is that I'm still lining up what I want on race day, because things aren't quite right. And if they're not quite right, then I need to make it so, because I need to give myself every chance and every opportunity to have the best race day possible. Now, that's hard in 100 miles. I've only had 100 miler where I was like, that clicked. That felt good. That was, the way things should have gone. And that was actually at Chattanooga, when I raced Chattanooga in 2018. I just, I felt like I really didn't have to hike much. I just felt that all day pace, just listen to my body. And that's probably what I'll have to do at Umstead, is just listen to my body and not look at the watch and be worried about, am I 9-minute pace? Well, I just need to make sure I'm not going too fast, obviously. But, it's when you listen to your body and listen to what it needs, not only in pace and effort, but nutritionally, that's when things start to go right. And that's what you need to learn in training, is what is your body telling you? Is the pace too fast? Do you need to slow down? Are you feeling hungry? Do you need something to drink? Do you need to use a restroom? All of these things are super important. Is there anything going on in your footwear? Do you feel anything that's just not quite right? Do you have something that you can change into to resolve that? Because, God knows, just like I said, in training, your shoe may be perfect, but come race day, something happens. Well, maybe later you're getting swelling in the foot that you never had prior. Do you have something wider that you can turn into? Like, these are things you need to think of. These are backup plans you need to have. Just the accessibility to those so that you make sure that race day you have the best success possible. And it's not to say that you're going to have that flow state and that, that perfect experience. We all hope for that, yes. But in order to make it as close to that as possible, do everything in your power to make sure that you prepare yourself for every aspect of that race. So that, and it like, I think sometimes we get a little too carried away with our spreadsheets. And we say, I'm going to do this at this time, and I'm going to eat this at this time, and I am going to switch shoes and socks at this mile mark. So, I think the only conundrum that we run into with planning all of that out is that can go out the window at mile 1. And then you're like, shit, what do I do now? Excuse me. But the reality is, we don't know what's going to happen, right? And that's what we have to be prepared for. We have to be prepared for the unknown. And how do you be prepared for the unknown? Well, you put yourself in those situations in training and learn what your body can do in training. Can it sustain paces? Is it better off at, a slightly slower pace? Or, are you planning on a walk-run? If you're planning on a walk-run, practice the walk-run. Practice your long pace. If your body doesn't know what it feels like at that pace, you're not going to know what it feels like on race day. You're going to be all over the place unless you listen to your body and say, okay, here's my sustainable pace. That's what you have to learn, is those sustainable paces and those sustainable efforts and those intervals that your body wants food. And that's going to change. I know that my body, like, at first is going to want some food between 35 and 40 minutes. So I start pretty early with, trickling in some calories. And again, with the tailwind, drilling some tailwind down. So, and then as the race goes on, it may get, the intervals may become sooner. In Chattanooga, by the end, I was eating something every 20 to 25 minutes. I was just, I kept eating and consuming, and things changed. I went from baby food to some gels, back to baby food, to blocks, to, real food, to soup, to bacon. Like, I was all over the place, but I was listening to what my body wanted. Did it want something salty? Did it want something savory? Did it want something sweet? Did it want something sour? Did I need some sugar? Like, what? And you have to know what those feelings are, and so that you can meet those demands from your body. Absolutely. Listen to your body. Listen to what it wants. Listen to what it needs. And if it's, you're getting a hot spot somewhere, take care of it. Take care of things as they come up, not after a certain time and it's already too late and you're like, this is killing me. I had, some chafing, in the 50 miler. Because I wore my waist belt, I didn't have room for my normal little stick of squirrel nut butter. And I was like, you're an idiot. Why don't you have that? Why don't you figure out how to carry that? Why don't you take care of that? And so these are the small things. So, and again, that's another reason why I want to go to the pack. I mean, maybe a little bit warmer, but at the same time, like, I can carry these things and not have that on my mind. A little pebble gets in my shoe. I'm taking care of that instantaneously. Popping off the shoe, getting that out, relacing, making sure it feels good. A lace feels too tight on top of the foot, resolve it. Do it as soon as you feel it, right? Chafing, same thing. Something starts to get a hot spot, lube it. Get rid of it. Do what you have to get back to comfort, right? Don't let these things grow, because these are little things that can, eventually become really big things and take you out of a race. Take care of it. Take care of the little things, and it's, in the 50 miler, I also learned, okay, because I wasn't, using my tailwind and I was, having a little bit of a bonk on that lap 3, I came in, like I said, I chugged the rebuilder, the tailwind rebuilder. So I had a little bit of protein. So, a little bit more calories, some protein, some carbs. And, but I went back out there, and because of that, because I chugged it, I really wasn't I wasn't able to consistently eat still. So that last lap probably was a little bit harder than it should have been. I probably should have just kind of taken that bottle with me and kind of drank a little bit at a time. That way I was getting that trickle still and then taking some calories with it. Or had another one of those, pumpkin chocolate chip muffins that I talked about, or a rice cake, or, a gel. I had another speed nut in this Black Mountain Marathon. The speed nut's about 250 calories by spring, and it was after halfway. I was coming back down, and I was like, hey, I'll pop this right now. But that threw me off again. 250 calories. It threw me off my schedule. It just really, it was a lot. It's definitely a slow burn fuel. So, for that length of run, I probably didn't need that many calories. Now, when we get to the 100 miler, especially later on in the event, I'm going to need that type of stuff, especially the slow burn, and the fuel just to get those calories down. But, those type of things I learned in training. I'm like, yeah, I screwed up. I screwed the pooch here. I did. I put myself off schedule. I made things harder than they probably should have been because I wasn't getting the calorie drip. It's the same thing with the tailwind. Because I wore the Momentum pack, the Momentum 1, the version 1. I couldn't get the bottles out, so I wasn't drinking as often as I should have been. So when I pulled the bottle out, I chugged instead of just doing the normal. About every 10 minutes, I kind of sip on the tailwind. That's kind of my schedule. But with that pack, I couldn't do it because I couldn't get the bottles in and out easier. So, hopefully this Momentum 2, version 2, I can get them out in and easy, in and out. But if not, I'm going to keep searching. I got to find what's going to work. What am I comfortable with? What feels good, what weight feels good, the bottles, are they in the correct position? Is the pack, is it rubbing me anywhere? Is the shoulder strap in the right spot? Is it rubbing my neck? Is it making my back sore? All of these things you've got to think about because you're going to be on your feet for a long time. When you're racing, these are all things that can compound and take away from your race and take away from your experience. So make sure that everything works. Make sure you're happy with everything. Socks, those are huge. It's better to find out they're not going to work in a training run than it is race day. Now, again, you could have a sock that's worked for you forever, and all of a sudden you're getting a hot spot because some seam, popped, or you're feeling like a thread or something like that. So have obviously backups and different ones. Or just a replacement. But it's like these are the little things, right? Just having all of these things available to you. Now, again, your drop bag can't be, a huge trunk. So, we have to be succinct about what we're going to have, right? What gear we're going to have, what are we able to bring? And then obviously organizing it, that's a whole nother thing. Making sure that you know where things are and they're easily accessible so you're not spending too much time looking for things. And if you have a crew, make sure that they understand where things are. And if you ask for something, make sure they understand what you're asking for. Those are all good things to go through with your crew. Okay. If you're, on your own, it's great to organize. And, I did a whole episode. I'll try to put that in the show notes about organizing yourself and making sure that you've got everything you need, if you're crewed or crewless. So, this one, Umstead, it's really difficult due to the COVID restrictions. We can only have one person. That one person can be either crew or it can be a pacer. We can't have both. So I can't have a crew member and a pacer. I can only have one or the other. So I have to be really strategic about how I'm going to do this if I want to have anything at all. That's what I'm trying to resolve. And I can only have a pacer after lap 5. So for the remaining 3 laps, 6, 7, and 8, I can have a pacer. So, but that pacer has to be aware of their job. When we get back into the aid station, I need help refueling and getting back out there as fast as I can. So, it's going to be an interesting task. So that's something that I'm trying to resolve and figure out, right now, and make sure that I can have the person in place that's comfortable with doing, that's, let's see. So they are 12.5 mile laps. So that's, 37.5 miles. So, they would be pacing me for potentially 37.5 miles. Now I could, have somebody run 24, 25 miles, and then they can head out, and then I have another person waiting for me for the last lap. That's another potential. But these are things that really I have to work out now and make sure that everybody's comfortable with their role and what they're doing. So it really is, the more you can prepare and plan, the better. And again, you have to be ready to roll with the punches and have those backup plans, have things in place for yourself to make sure that when, those things arise, you're ready to go. You're like, yep, this has happened in the past, or, okay, this is happening. This is what I'm going to do. And then if that doesn't work, what else are you going to do? And, don't hesitate to ask those around you. We've got, a great community. We have so many other runners. People at the aid stations, they have experiences as well. If you can't think of something to do, ask at the aid station. Say, hey, listen, my strap just broke. Anybody got some safety pins or another idea of how I can, keep this together? Whatever it may be. Just, don't be afraid to ask either. That's what, people are there for. Other runners, we're there to help one another. So don't be afraid. Don't be too proud. Don't be too scared to ask. Ask for help. Ask for those, resolutions, and especially ahead of time. It doesn't even have to be in race. Like if you have questions, reach out to me, reach out to your friends, ask questions. If you come up with a plan, show it to other people and say, what do you think of this? Does this look feasible? Does this look doable? Does this look like I've planned too much? And you say, hey, here's my fallbacks. What do you think of this? What do you think of this idea? Do you have any other suggestions? Like, what do you use? What do you do? What has worked for you in the past? These are all really good questions to ask of other people. I do not have every answer. And if I don't, then I definitely would ask somebody that I trust and say, well, what do you do? So, it's not that we all have all of the answers, and I certainly don't. I ask my friends, what do you do in this situation? We race so many different races that we may get out of our comfort zone at times because we're like racing a totally different race that's, we're unaccustomed to. I've never run a 100-miler in which I potentially could run every step of the 100-miler. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but, this is definitely a different race for me. I'm not saying it's outside of my wheelhouse, but, every race I've done has some type of mountain or technical trail that I've had to get through. So this is different, and I'm trying to approach it with that mentality and respect for that distance. 100 miles, it's never guaranteed. I think some people line up thinking that they're guaranteed a finish at the 100-mile no matter what they do. They're like, I'm just going to walk it if I have to. Listen, man, there's still a lot that can go wrong. There's still cutoffs that we have to beat. Not to make, put doubt in your mind, but I also want you to have respect for the distance and for the event. Give the event its respect that it's due. Any distance, we have to respect the distance and the race, the people around it, have respect for ourselves, know that we're going into it and we've trained, we've done the best that we can, and we're lining up with the potential to finish. And that if we can't, just like I talked about earlier, if things go wrong, just kind of reflect. Think about it, give yourself 24 hours to process it. Write down some notes. What went right? What went wrong? What was good? What was bad? What happened? I do the same thing even if it's a good race. No matter what the race is, you should really be reflecting on it and thinking, well, I could have done this. Maybe next time I'll try this. Those are things you need to write down and then have it accessible for the next time you do something similar to that, so you can go back into those notes and say, oh yeah, I wanted to try this. And then you should try it in training, just like I talked about earlier. Don't try something new in the race. Do it in training so you understand, okay, this is how I reacted. This worked well. This didn't work well. Maybe I could tweak this. Those are all things to do in training, okay? But be reflective in your races, whether they're, a short race that you're just using and preparation and training. Use those races as practice, as training, and use exactly the strategy you want to use on race day in those races. And that way you know how they're working out. Take notes on them. Yeah, this worked well. No, this didn't work well. I should try this. And that way when you line up the next time, you say, okay, here's the tweak. Here's what I'm going to do. And you've tried it in the long runs leading up to it. So, the point being that if you're prepared, it's going to be so much more, fun. You're going to have more fun in the process of running. You're going to have more fun on race day. And you're going to have a more positive experience. You're going to come out of it saying that was actually a great experience. I hope you can take away from any race a positive. And always look for at least 3 positives in every race. Whether it was the worst race of your life, find 3 positives. Take away 3 things that were great that day. And they can just be good. If you're having that bad of a day, 3 things that were good, okay? And if it was something in training that, you're like, I think I did too much, or I didn't do enough of this. Those are all questions that you can go to friends and say, hey, listen, here's what I did. In this last race, what do you think? Was this too much? Was this not enough? Should I have done something differently? Like, don't be afraid to take that step as well. I mean, obviously I'm a coach, and that's what I do, is I try to help people through the process so that they understand what we're doing to get to the event or their goal. But along the way, I want them to make sure that they're enjoying every aspect of their training. And if they're not, then we need to change things, just like you do. If you're not enjoying your training, you need to change things, whether it be like, doing less workouts, or, less road running, more trail running, whatever it is, anything that you need to change so that it makes it a better experience for you. That's the important thing, is that you are enjoying running. As I said, we define ourselves as runners. We classify ourselves as runners, and to the point, if you have run, anything over 26.2, yes, you are an ultra runner, but you are also a runner. Everybody that puts one foot in front of the other, as I said earlier, no matter what pace, you, my friend, are a runner, not only to me, but to everybody around you. You are a part of this community. You are a welcome addition to any event, and you should feel welcomed and not intimidated. This is not that type of community. The trail running and ultra community is here to see you succeed and to see you have fun, not to put you down. That I don't want you to ever think that anybody here is here to put you down. I think we're all here to lift you up and to see you succeed. So I hope you feel that. I hope you feel that in the community. I hope you support that in the community. I hope you are a shining light to the others around you, to lift them up and to be a part of their success and to celebrate their successes. To say, nice job, congratulations, that's fantastic, wow, that's pretty amazing. I love seeing people's journeys, and I hope that your journey is positive, fruitful, enjoyable, and in the end, you reach your goal and find your potential. So, without further words of of my wisdom, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. As always, if you ever have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Runningpains@gmail.com. My socials are all in the show notes. If you want to follow me on Strava, ask questions about my own training. If you want to find out more about coaching, reach out. My website, mrrunningpains.com, has everything. It has old podcasts, old newsletters. You can sign up for the newsletter that I release monthly. YouTube channel, I keep adding to it. And I'm trying to post on my Facebook and Instagram, when I come up with new videos, just trying to post helpful content. If you have things you want to hear about and see, you just let me know. Really here to try to support the community and kind of share my knowledge. I really appreciate the support from those that have jumped on Patreon. And for those of you that have liked and subscribed and even left a review on your favorite podcast platform, thank you guys so much. It really does mean the world. If you can support on Patreon, it really does help. It helps me continue to put out the newsletter, to do the YouTube videos, to do these podcasts. So I really can't thank you guys enough for that support. Other than that, guys, I've got a pretty awesome guest coming up. My good friend, and you know him from God knows how many races, Patrick Regan. We're going to talk this week, and it should be a fun conversation. It's going to be about training, so expect a pretty nerdy conversation. But I'm looking forward to talking with Patrick, and I've got another injury episode coming up with Miriam Saloom, the PT at the Runner's Mechanic that helps me ever so often. We're actually going to talk about IT bands. That was in the works prior to my IT bands hurting, so we'll be talking more about IT bands, so I look forward to that conversation as well. I think that's it for now. Once again, guys, thank you. I hope you have a great week. Enjoy your running, and thanks again for joining me on episode 55 of the MR Running Pains podcast.